Have you ever looked at a massive oil rig or a skyscraper or some other huge complex thing and just thought, how? How do they even begin to build something like that? It seems like it would be pure chaos. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how that chaos gets tamed.
Seriously, think about it for a second. A brand new power grid for a city, a massive refinery. It's not just a few tasks, it's literally a million moving parts. So how on earth do you keep it all from just collapsing into a giant, expensive mess?
Well, for companies like Chevron, the ones out there building some of the largest projects on the planet, the answer isn't just, good management. It's a very specific, very structured system.
And here is the secret sauce. This is the key. It is not about juggling dozens of different plans for all the different teams. Nope. It's about having one single plan that everybody shares. The trick is that you can view that one plan in different layers, from the highest level, big picture view, right down to the tiniest detail. It's kind of like a digital map you can just zoom in and out of.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the big idea itself. Then we'll take a look at that 30,000-foot view that the leadership sees. After that, we'll get our boots on the ground and see the detailed plans the actual teams use. We'll talk about how it all connects, and then finally, why this whole system is so important for any big goal.
All right, first up, let's dig into the fundamental concept that makes this entire thing tick.
You know, the core principle here is actually super simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. And it's this: not everyone on a project needs the same amount of information. Right? An executive needs a totally different view of the project than a site supervisor, and that supervisor needs a different view than the welding crew. So the whole system is designed to give every single person exactly the level of detail they need, no more and no less.
Okay, so let's zoom all the way out. Let's get up to that 30,000-foot view. This is the world that leadership and the big stakeholders live in.
And this is level 0. This is the highest you can possibly get. The entire multi-year, multi-billion-dollar project is represented by just a single bar on a timeline. It sounds almost too simple, right? But it's perfect for that huge enterprise-level reporting, where you just need to see how this one massive effort fits into the company's entire portfolio of projects.
Now let's zoom in just one click. We're at level 1. Think of this as the executive summary. It breaks the whole project down into its major phases, and most importantly, it highlights those key milestones everyone has their eye on. Things like getting the final investment decision or achieving first oil, the moment the project actually starts making money.
And you can see that transition perfectly right here. That one single bar from level 0, boom. It expands into these distinct phases. You can see things like feed, that's front-end engineering and design, then detailed engineering, procurement, construction. It's the same project, just with that next layer of detail revealed.
Okay, let's drill down again to level 2. This view is really for the project managers. It takes a big phase like construction and slices it up by discipline. So now you're starting to see how all the different teams, the civil engineers, the structural folks, the piping team, the electrical team, how they all interact and depend on each other.
And what's really cool to see here is how the plan starts becoming a real management tool. That one big construction bar from the last level is now a whole collection of activities, some happening in parallel, some one after the other. You can actually start to see the real workflow of the project taking shape.
So we've seen the view from the executive suite. Now it's time to put on our hard hats. Let's get our boots on the ground and see what this plan looks like to the people who are actually building this thing.
Welcome to level 3, and let me tell you, this is the heart and soul of the entire system. This is the schedule that the project team uses every single day. This is where they find what's called the critical path. You can think of it like a chain of dominoes. It's the one sequence of tasks where if any single one is delayed, the entire project's finish date gets pushed back. This schedule is where project managers live and breathe.
And just look at the detail here. At level 2, we saw an activity called piping. Well, now that's been broken down into tangible, physical work packages, specific foundations, individual columns, numbered pipe racks, and on and on. This is the to-do list for the team leads. It's totally actionable.
So if you take away one thing, it's this. A level 1 schedule answers the question, are we on track to hit our big milestones? But a level 3 schedule, it answers a completely different question. Okay, what specifically does my team need to get done today, this week, and this month? They're two different audiences, asking two different questions, but, and this is the important part, they're both getting their answers from the same, single, integrated plan.
So, you might be wondering, how does this one giant integrated schedule stay, well, integrated? It's not magic. It takes a dedicated team with very specific jobs to keep this whole complex machine running like it should. Let's meet them.
First up, you have the Project Controls Manager. Think of them as the guardians of the system. Their job is to protect the integrity of the whole thing. They're not just managing a schedule, they're making sure the data going in is reliable so that the plan is an effective, trustworthy tool for making massive decisions.
And then you have the planner or the scheduler. These are the folks who are deep in the details. They're working with all the teams to build the schedule, to update it, to analyze it. They're the ones who make sure that the plan in the computer actually reflects what's happening out there in the real world.
And this brings us right back to the most critical concept of them all, integration. Everything has to be connected. A delay in a tiny level 3 task, like pouring one specific foundation, that has to automatically roll up and be reflected in all the higher level schedules. This is how you make sure that everyone, from the person in the field to the CEO in the boardroom, is working from one single version of the truth.
So, okay, we've talked about all these levels, these schedules, these roles, but why should we care? What's the big takeaway from all this?
Well, let's use a much simpler analogy. Forget oil rigs for a minute. Let's just say you're planning a big vacation. Your level 0 goal is simple: vacation in Italy. Level 1 is where you break that down into the cities you'll visit: Rome, then Florence, then Venice. Level 2 is your daily itinerary for each city. And level 3? That's the nitty-gritty. That's the specific train ticket you booked, the museum's exact entry time, the walking route you mapped out. See, it's all one trip, just viewed at different levels of detail.
And that, right there, is the power of this entire approach. It takes something that could be total, overwhelming chaos, and it transforms it into a predictable, manageable process. It is how you make sure that thousands, or even millions, of individual little pieces all fit together perfectly to achieve one massive goal.
You know, this way of thinking is so powerful, and not just for building things. It works for any complex project. So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. For your next big goal, whatever it is, what's your level 3 plan? What are the specific, actionable steps you're going to take to make it a reality?